Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 9th of October, and the market continues its move. I don't know if I discussed this one before, but from a daily standpoint, a really obvious play is the magenta over yellow, um, where you buy the dip of the magenta where it's still above yellow, and you can sell the next day, buy the dip, sell the bump. I mean, you could follow this along this one, even though it went 2 days. Even the result there was pretty close to even, but then the next up day, boom. So you can follow that all the way across. And particularly helpful when MBI white is below 10, strong, as well as even if you have a pivot of the MBI white uh, on an upswing. And again, it's the same as just even when the magenta crosses above yellow and you have, sub 10 on your MBI white, those are all solid. It all does the same thing. And it's just a typical market behavior from, the imbalance of buyers to sellers. And that's exactly what we look for. So from a NASDAQ standpoint, you get the exact same thing. You have the dip, pump, dip, pump, dip. So we would expect the up day from that dip move, particularly when you're looking at MBI white down at 2, though it's likely to pick up at some point here. And from a TLT Treasury standpoint, yeah, we got nothing happening. The Fed is sidelined. And, it's interesting. They were so active during Biden's time, and now they're just completely absent. And they've got an issue because now, with this whole situation of the drop in migration, you had the numbers come out. The border was the most secure since, 1970. Nothing changed in the laws. It's just a matter of actually applying them. And boy, that certainly changed everything. And of course, now the appeals court's allowing the deployment of National Guard to protect, detention facilities, things like that. That coincided with the, report on various groups and this whole defunding of USAID and those things are having broader implications overseas. And this is where the Fed is going to have to start propping up the euro and other areas with cash liquidity, because they're suffering. Because as long as you don't have, and I'm particularly thinking about it because you had this peace deal working out between Hamas and Israel, without war spending, the rest of the world has difficulty getting a hold of dollars, because that's what funds a lot of money coming into these places, wars. And it's problematic. Now, from an oil standpoint, you had U.S. reaching record production. So those effects have finally started to come through, even despite all the delays that took place. Um, but you're not seeing oil suffer, even though you had these huge increases in production, because the Ukrainians had moved on to bombing Russian oil facilities, and no one really knows what that impact's going to be on the global scope of how many barrels are available. So even with Saudi Arabia trying to increase its production, it may just be making up for lost oil. So it's not really giving much of a downward effect. Now, if that proves to be false and Russian production is still equivalent, then yeah, you'll definitely see a drawdown. And this is where you can see the problems with France, Germany, all that I've been talking about for a while this whole euphoria was going on, and the pending collapse of dollar. No, no, it's actually the other way around, and it has been. And it's just a matter for that final realization. But there's no question that the debt situation and the change in capital has definitely moved gold as to the forebearer of everything. And it's just been a spectacular performance, and not going to stop yet. We're getting a few hundred away from where we should get some resistance to it. But this is where even Bitcoin and them, despite their volatility in that, they're also, it's the same thing. It's just two generations. The ideas of gold buyers versus crypto. Same idea that confidence in fiat currencies is waning simply because of the amount of debt. And this is why you see this massive push all of a sudden towards the digital euro. It's really been moving fast now because they understand that they're in a world of hurt, and there's no structural way out of it given where they're at with their deficits. And the U.S. has been funding these social programs through most of the socialist European world and Canada elsewhere with their support of military support, things like that. It's a huge boon to places like Germany that we have U.S. troops stationed there. You have all the equipment coming in, and now requiring them to pay for their own defense is not going to go over well because they're going to have to pay for it from some other place, and that's usually all their social programs. And so, you throw in all the bureaucracy and everything into it, and you've got just stagnated economies. Now, from our 50K standpoint, you can see we had the classic situation of MBI white with magenta over yellow, and that forced short covering as it rises up together, and that just led to a nice little push there. We ended up with the MBI white briefly above, but magenta never dipped below, so just pretty much right at the 50%, and boom, that's your short cover forced rally right there, and they just capitulate, going south, clean and simple. From a 5-minute chart view, yeah, it was a nice rise early on from pre-market, and that just continued throughout the day. So all the short sellers got hammered again, and call buyers rewarded for it. Now you'll probably see potentially at the open maybe some call buyer gamma wiped out of that, but um, overall, we're in a situation where peace dividend is just kind of the opposite because a lot of it's not just baked in, but it's just a part of the cyclical rotation of things. And when you have this dry up of money being spent, at least from the U.S. globally, it makes a difference. But the U.S. has to clamp down, and the question will be whether Trump will make some more dramatic moves overall as far as budget and that, and will there be some fiscal sanity? It doesn't seem like it, but hey, there's the potential of it. So we'll see how it plays out. But overall, we'll keep watching it. But the readings are showing us exactly what we need to see. So we just continue to follow what they are, and everything should be fine. As always, though, anything relevant, I will put it on our team chat. Have a good one. Trade well.